Hi guys and girls on YouTube, just a really quick video here. So I've got this Denon, what model is it? It's RCD-M40DAB. Now the customer says it works fine with the buttons on the front, so we can turn it off, we can turn it on, but it doesn't work at all with the remote control. Now he said he's been out and bought a brand new remote control, and the fault is no different. If I press the power, see, it does absolutely nothing. Now the first thing we do is just test this remote just to make sure. Right, so that's my remote control tester. Press the power button and you can see the buttons on it are working. That's the power, so it's not the remote control. Take a quick look at that diagram I've drawn. Most remote control sensors only have 3 wires: power, ground and signal out. Serial data out from the amplifier built in there. So we can't really go wrong with a fault like this. Let's get the top off and have a look. What we need to do is we need to check the power, check the ground, and then scope what's coming out of there. Let's get this in focus. So let's have a look. The remote control sensor is just there. Like I said, we've got 3 wires, and the other 2 connections will be just soldering it to the board. So what we need to establish now is which of these connections are which. So I've just drawn a quick diagram on there, and what I'm going to do is we're going to measure these for a meter and see which is power and ground. Once you've eliminated them, the last one will be the signal. Easy. Right, so here goes. We can hold the camera at the same time. So that's the first one there, and we've got 3.31 volt in there. That seems okay. The middle one has got absolutely nothing on, so that would be the ground, and the end one there has got 0.153 volt on it. Right, what we need to do is just draw that down on the diagram so we don't forget, and we're going to scope it now because the power looks okay. But first of all, that middle one there, although it's got no voltage on it, I'm just going to check that it is actually connected to ground with a meter. Right, so here we go. That is the middle connector there. I'm set up on ohms. That's it. I've got my other crocodile on the case there, and we do have 0.6 ohms, so that's confirmed now. The configuration looking from the back is power, ground, signal out, just like that. Now it's handy to just draw a diagram, and then you don't forget, because the phone rings, somebody comes in, you'll forget where you were. So I like to draw a diagram and then I can come straight back to it without thinking. Right, so now I'm going to scope the output, have a look at the data train on this oscilloscope, but I'm going to have to put the camera on here, I think, because I can't do both at the same time. Let's get that onto there. Right. Right, that's better. Now, I'm going to press a button on the remote control, and as you see, we do have a data train. Let's just freeze that, like so, and then we can examine that in closer detail. Right, now if you look at that, although it does have an output from the remote control sensor, look at the amplitude. It's only 176 millivolts. Now I would have expected that to be at least 2 volt, at least 2 volt peak to peak. That is very, very low. Now that would normally indicate that the sensor itself is faulty, but I've been down this route before, changing things, and they're not actually faulty, and it could very well be that there's a leaky MLCC capacitor, but I'm just going to have a quick look if that sensor is still available just in case we need one, but that is clearly far too low. Right, so the bad news is the sensor is available to order, £1.94, but the problem is it's not in stock and the delivery time is 7 to 8 weeks. I don't really think the customer wants to wait that long. In fact, he said actually he's going away next week and he'd like this repairing this week if possible. So let's just hope it's not the sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick resistance check between there and there, and then I think what we might do is unsolder that from the board and actually check the signal level when it's not connected to anything, see if it comes up, if anything's dragging it down. But for now, let's just do a resistance check between there and there. Right, so here's a resistance check, and if you look at that, it's not unusually low. But on the output there is an MLCC capacitor just there. So although it's not completely short, it could be leaky. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unsolder this from the board, and we'll take another measurement without it being connected to this board. Let me see if we can just zoom in. Yeah, the light's not very good, but you can see that cap there. So let's do that next. Right, I've got a little bit of light now from my overhead lamp. I don't know how well that shows up on the camera, but you can see now that that is no longer soldered to the board. Let's scope the output now. Right, I've just put the camera on a tripod now, that's a little bit better. Right, let's try it again. Get the remote. And as you can see, exactly the same as it was before, 128 millivolt. That to me indicates that sensor's faulty. Now the problem is the customer doesn't really want to wait for 2 months. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and have a look, because I do have some remote control sensors for TVs, and see if I can find a matching one, or at least one that will work, so the customer can have this back this week if possible. Let's come back to in a minute. Right, so let's get that light off there. Requires a bit more disassembly. I've taken the knob off. That's necessary to get this front panel out. I've disconnected that ribbon there. There's also 2 cables, one there, I'm going to have to cut that cable clip, and another one there, going to have to cut that cable clip so we can lift this front completely off. Right, so now you can see why I've had to take the knob off, because we've got to take all that panel out there, and we can have a better look now. The pin I've desoldered, you can see it there. That M1 there. So let's get that unscrewed. How many screws? There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only about 5 screws, and then we can have a look what the sensor actually looks like. See if I can match it up with one I've already got. Right, so it's the next day now. I ran out of time yesterday to finish this job. I've not been able to find the box with the remote control sensors in. I mean, this is a big place, I have a lot of stuff in here. If I spent a couple of days I could probably find them, but I don't really want to waste time just looking for a part that's, you know, so cheap. But I've slept on it overnight, and I've remembered that quite a while ago somebody gave me a player like that for scrap. The only problem is it's in the loft, and this is a really big place I've got, but also the loft is as big as the place we're in. So I'm going to go and have a look in the loft. I'm pretty sure there is one up there. While I'm at it, I'm going to put this Sony TV in the loft because it's far too good to scrap. It only needs a new line output transformer, but the chances of getting one, a new one anyway, are 0. So I'm just going to stick this in the loft for a rainy day and hope one turns up. So the loft is up there and we need a ladder. Let's go and get a ladder. Right, so actually for a lot of people following my channel, they'll have seen my workshop tour video. What you won't have seen is the loft tour video because I haven't made one. So why don't we take this opportunity to take the camera up into the loft and have a look up there. Now this is, of course, is a false ceiling, so I've effectively got 2 lofts up here. Let's take the camera up and have a look. Right, I've got my phone on. I don't know how much you can see here, but this is the first part of the loft. I don't think you can actually see a lot. What we need to be doing is going up there right into the top. Right, it's a bit dark, you can't see a lot in here. I've got some light, but it's looking rather full up here. Let's have a look. Got some better light over here. BSB square reel. Let's have a look. What we're looking for, a Denon. What's that there? Yeah, well that looks like a Denon box. Everything's falling down here. Different colour, but definitely worth a try to see if it's got the right sensor, and that is. Oh, that's what's wrong with it. Somebody's gave me the CD mechanisms missing. Right, let's get this downstairs. That's if we're going to stand up properly. Right, here we go. Get out of here without falling or tripping over anything. Tell you what, I'll stop the camera. Right, so that's the one out the loft with the CD missing. Now, according to the part numbers I've got for these sensors are different in this. What's this one? This is a RCD-M40DAB and the others are 40. And when you look at the front panel, you can see that the front is totally different. But all we need to know is if this sensor is electrically or mechanically different. Because these sensors are all much of a muchness. If it runs on 3.3 then the chances are it'll probably do, because usually these sensors are 3.35 or 12. So I wonder if we can just power this up and measure the voltage on these pins. I'll do that next. Well, that's the answer. It powers up with a CD mechanism missing. It doesn't look very happy, but we're not bothered about that because all we need to do is measure the voltage on that sensor. I've already checked the middle pin and that's definitely ground, so we just need to check the power pin, and then if it's the same one we'll take it out. Yeah, that's got exactly the same pin configuration. Let's whip it out and have a look what the difference is. Right, so that's the one I'm going to be taking out of the scrap one. Now what I've done is I've marked it on there with a bit of red felt tip, and I've also wrote down there red is the replacement, because the chances are if you just take them out and put them on your bench, usually what happens is the phone will ring or somebody will come in, and then you come back 5 minutes later and you forget which one's the replacement and which one's the faulty one. So it's always best to make a note before you start. Right, so that's the two sensors out, and they do indeed look a little bit different. Like it said in the parts listing, they are a different part number, and it would appear that the one I've taken out of the scrapper has a wider angle of view, but we've nothing to lose anyway by trying it. So let's get that fitted in. Right, so that is the sensor in there. Now I've also taken a picture of these front panel because I've got these two copper earthing strips. So another tip here, take a picture before you disassemble anything, and then you can put it back together without thinking about it. The only thing we've got to do next is just clean up that soldering flux so you can't tell anything's been done. I'll show you that in a second. And for that I'm just using a little toothbrush and some Chemtronics specialist flux remover. And that's it there. If you look at that now, it's been cleaned up with flux remover. You can hardly tell that anything's been changed there. So right, we've just got to reassemble it now, and we'll try it and see what happens. Right, so here we go. Let's power it up, see what happens. Turn it on there. Turn it on the front. There we go. And so we can turn it off. Yeah, turns off, turns on. Let's try another function. What we're going to try here, source tuner. Yeah, CD, yeah. So, turn it off, turn it on. That has cured the problem. Now, somebody's going to ask, well, what should the output of that sensor be? Well, I would imagine that it's going to be, it'll have a transistor amplifier will be built into that. It won't be just an infrared sensor. So I would imagine it'll probably swing 0.7 volt less than the supply. So let's just hook a scope up to that, and then we'll just take another reading now. Right, here we go. Get that to there. Press the button. Now you can't see it on there. Let me hands in the way. Just hang on. Right, so the scope's still set to 100 millivolt, what it was set to before. I've not altered it. Let's just press the button when I get it on. And look at that, we're way off the screen. So let's set it for, say, 2 volts. Tell you what, let's drop it down to 1 volt, and then I'll just freeze this waveform in a minute. There we go. Then I can pick up the camera now, and we can have a look. Just move that out of the way. So you can see there, we've got nearly 1, 2, oh, 3.4. So it does swing from supply. I would have imagined it to just go down to 0.7 volt less than supply, but if you look at that there, we've got 3.4 volt peak to peak. So that's what it should be like when it's working. What did we have, about 100 millivolts before? Right, so that's all up and running. That's cured the fault. Now there's one last thing to do. If you remember, we cut 2 cable ties here, one there and one in that hole there. I just need to replace them now before we screw it all back together and test it. And there we go, just cut them off. Job done. And there we have it, a nice easy repair. Turn it off, turn it on. It just wants testing now. Obviously I'm not going to show that on camera because I'm going to load a CD and play some music for a bit. But just in case, I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. Just in case there's any problem further down the line, or the customer brings it back, or the sensor fails again, I'm going to put one on back order, and at least I'll have one. That's if I can find it. At least I'll have another one in stock, just in case there's any problem further down. So there we go, that's the exact one, not expensive, £194, 7 to 8 weeks delivery. Let's just add that to the basket, and I can tag that now onto another order which I'm going to place later on today. Right, so there we go guys and girls, many thanks for watching my video. I'm sorry it's not a vintage TV video. I have got some coming. I still can't lift any very heavy objects with my back, but with every passing day I'm getting better and better, so please bear with me. There will be more vintage TV videos coming in the not too distant future. Alright, many thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video then. Goodbye.